This is VOA News. I'm David Byrd. U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping in just a few hours at the Group of 20 summit in Osaka, Japan, as they try to restart trade negotiations between the world's two largest economies. Asked Friday whether he expects Xi to put a trade deal offer on the table Saturday, Trump sounded optimistic.
It'll be an exciting day. A lot of people are talking about it, and it's very interesting, and it's going to come out hopefully well for both countries, and ultimately it will work out.
Trump has threatened another $325 billion in tariffs on Chinese goods. That would cover just about everything China exports to the U.S. that is not already covered by current tariffs on Chinese imports. China has slapped its own tariffs on U.S. products, including those produced by financially strapped American farmers. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is willing to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at the demilitarized zone separating the two Koreas just to shake his hand and say hello. Trump made the offer in a tweet just hours ahead of landing in South Korea. While there, if Chairman Kim of North Korea sees this, I would meet him at the border DMZ just to shake his hand and say hello, Trump said. Kim has not commented on Trump's offer. It would be the third meeting between Trump and Kim, who met last June in Singapore and in February in Hanoi, Vietnam. The defending champion U.S. team has reached the semifinals of the Women's World Cup football tournament in France. Megan Rapinoe scored 2 goals to lead the Americans to a 2-1 victory over host country France Friday. The French got back in the game with a goal from Wendy Renard in the 81st minute, but it was not enough. The U.S. women take on England in the semifinals. This is VOA News. Former Vice President and Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden defended his civil rights record on Friday after California Senator Kamala Harris harshly criticized him in Thursday night's Democratic presidential debate. Speaking at the Reverend Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition Civil Rights Organization in Chicago, Biden said he has always been in favor of the federal government overruling state laws that promote racism.
I've always been in favor of using federal authority to overcome state-initiated segregation. In fact, I cast a deciding vote in 1974 against an amendment called the Gurney Amendment, which would have banned the right of the federal courts to be able to use busing as a remedy.
Biden said that President Trump is promoting hate and division and is a bad example for American children. The former vice president said if elected, he will fight against racism from the start. Iran's deputy foreign minister said Friday that European countries need to buy more of his country's oil or consider lines of credit for Tehran if Iran is to stay within the limits of the 2015 nuclear deal. Abbas Araghchi said in Vienna Friday that the European countries need to do more under the so-called INSTEX program, which allows non-dollar trade with Iran.
What we insist is that for INSTEX to be useful for Iran, Europeans need to buy oil from Iran or to consider credit lines for this mechanism.
Iran is threatening to surpass the maximum amount of enriched uranium allowed under the 2015 deal in response to U.S. sanctions imposed in the past year. In the wake of recent tensions with Iran, including the shooting down of a U.S. drone, a Senate bid to limit presidential war powers came up short Friday. AP correspondent Mike Gracia reports.
The Senate failed to reach the 60-vote threshold needed for passage of an amendment that would have required congressional support for the president to order military strikes. The vote was 50-40 on an amendment to a sweeping defense bill. Despite the setback, some lawmakers portrayed the vote as sending a message that despite the war authorizations approved by Congress after the September 11 attacks in 2001, President Trump is on notice amid tensions with Iran. The House is expected to take up the issue next month. Mike Gracia, Washington.
The U.S. Supreme Court agreed Friday to hear a challenge to President Donald Trump's efforts to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that shields hundreds of thousands of young undocumented immigrants from deportation. The nation's highest court agreed to hear arguments in the case during its October term, with a decision expected next year at the height of the 2020 presidential campaign. For more, visit our website, voanews.com. I'm David Byrd, VOA News.